Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Our today's topic on diabetes. So today we'll be discussing about diabetes. In our previous lecture we have discussed about the obesity. So today let's start with the diabetes. First is your classification and prevalence. Diabetes is a metabolic disorder characterized by a chronic hyperglycemia with the disturbance of carbohydrate, fat, and protein metabolism resulting from the defects in insulin secretion or insulin action, or we can say by both. It is generally of two types, classified in two categories. First one is type 1 diabetes and second one is type 2 diabetes. So type 1 diabetes can occur at any age, but usually it develops in children or adult age who are greater than 40 years. So this occurs as a result of lack of insulin production by the pancreatic beta cell, and it requires the treatment with the insulin and dietary management. If we talk about the type 2 diabetes, it is usually diagnosed in older adult but is increasingly seen in younger adult and some children also. It is also associated with a lack of insulin function as a result of insulin resistance with or without insufficient production, and is strongly associated with the overweight and obesity. If you do remember, in our previous lecture we have discussed about the obesity and somehow it is correlated with the diabetes. If the body is suffering from obesity, then the chances of getting suffering from diabetes occurs many more. So dietary management is required with or without oral hypoglycemic agent or insulin. But along with this two type of diabetes, there occurs additional third category also, in which diabetes is categorized, that is known as gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes we'll be discussing in today's lecture only, but later on. So let me tell you in brief that gestational diabetes is a hyperglycemia diagnosed during pregnancy that have not been previously diagnosed, and dietary advice is advisable, and some patient during this may also uh, requires the insulin for the treatment. Okay, let's talk about the prevalence. Globally, approximately 170 millions of individuals have diabetes today, and increasing rate of obesity are closely associated with rising prevalence of the diabetes. So it is estimated that further million individuals may have undiagnosed type 2 diabetes, and the prevalence increases as your age increases, and also increases with the lower social economic status and varies with the ethnicity. So the overall incidence of diabetes can be reduced by preventing and reducing overweight, obesity, and particularly the central abdominal obesity. Individuals at risk can reduce this by eating a balanced diet, losing weight, and increasing their physical activity level. By this, they can cure their diabetes or can control their diabetes in a limit. So let's talk about the contributing causes of diabetes. I'm taking the first one, type 1 diabetes. Here the insulin secretion by pancreatic beta cell is reduced following damage mediated by an autoimmune T cell reaction, and environmental factors such as viral infection and may be implicated. Okay, now in type 2 diabetes, what happens? It is closely associated with the obesity and genetic factor. Approximately 15 to 25% of first degree relatives of people with type 2 diabetes develop impaired glucose tolerance or disease. So the substantial contribution made by the obesity is particularly important as this is a potentially modifiable risk factor. because excess of body fat is stored as a lipid in the adipocytes, which is then associated with the increased level of circulating hormones, cytokines, and metabolic fuels, which modulate the effect of insulin. So, what happens? The large adipocytes, especially in abdominal fat, are resistant to the lipolytic effects of insulin, which leads to further release and then increase in circulating free fatty acids. So these changes inhibit the insulin signaling cascades, resulting in impaired glucose metabolism in skeletal muscles and stimulated hepatic gluconeogenesis with consequent hyperglycemia. Next, let's see what are the clinical consequences of diabetes. Diabetes is associated with increased risk of serious chronic ill health, disability, and premature mortality. The long-term complication includes your macrovascular diseases, which further on leads to the cardiovascular diseases and increased risk of stroke, and microvascular disease leading to the retinopathy, nephropathy, and neuropathy. So this cardiovascular diseases I'll be telling about you in our next lecture after diabetes. So do refer to that lecture also. People with diabetes also have a greater risk of suffering from infection, cataracts, and depression. And also, many of these complications can be minimized or avoided by earlier diagnosis and more effective treatment. So these are the consequences that occurs due to the diabetes. What are the effects? How your body is get affected uh, by a single disease, that is diabetes, and this may leads to too many disease to occur to come into the body. So let's see what are the goals and principles of our dietary management. So goal of dietary management is to maintain or improve healthy health through the use of appropriate and healthy food choice. So whenever you have to choose a dietary food, you should be good enough to choose a healthier food for your health. It's also aimed to achieve maintain optimal metabolic and physiological outcome that includes the reduction of risk for microvascular diseases that includes your cardiovascular diseases, and by achieving near normal glycemia without undue risk of hypoglycemia. It also under this includes the reduction of risk of macrovascular diseases, including the management of the body weight, dyslipidemia, and hypertension. The third goal of this is to optimize the outcome in diabetic nephropathy and in any concomitant disorders such as celiac diseases and cystic fibrosis. So dietary advice should be include supporting patient to manage their diabetes and make decision. It should also complement other treatment including the pharmacological and your physical activity, your behavior, and smoking cessation programs. And if it is to be effective, dietary advice must take account of the individual's personal preference, cultural background, and lifestyle. So before going through any dietary management, if the dietitian must know about their patient's lifestyle, what are their meals they are taking, what are the workout they are doing, that would be more preferable and more convenient for planning the dietary plan for them. Next is the principle of dietary management. So people with diabetes do not need to follow a special diet or comply with narrow restriction and measured portion of the food that were considered before their treatment. In this regard, eating well is very important for the good diabetes control, which could contribute to improved well-being. If we talk about ideally, the food should be low in fat, sugar, and salt, which includes a plenty of fruits and vegetables and some base meals on starchy food such as your bread, potatoes, and rice. Now, here are some of the 8 steps of healthy eating in diabetes. That includes first is you eat regular meals based on starchy carbohydrate. So eat regular meals based on starchy carbohydrate foods. In this you can take such as your bread, potatoes, rice, pasta, chapatis, and also you can choose the whole grain foods where possible, for example wholemeal bread, oats, and whole grain cereals. Next is you have to reduce intake of fat, especially I'm talking about the animal fat. So eat less butter, margarine, cheese, and fatty meat, and instead choose low fat dairy foods like your skimmed milk and low fat yogurt. You can also replace the fried foods with grilled, steamed, or oven baked items, and go for small quantities of mono unsaturated oil. Means instead of using means uh, if you are using mustard oil or coconut oil, then instead of that you can go for the olive oil or rapeseed oil. Third step is to eat more fruits and vegetables. This I'm telling since from previously lectures that eat more fruits and vegetable, and which could aim for 5 portion per day, and this would be more helpful in treating not this disease but it is a curable for many of the diseases and helpful to in maintaining many diseases. Fourth one is reduce sugar and sugary foods. So in this, following a strict sugar-free diet is not necessary. Sugar can be used in this as an ingredient in food, for example, in many whole grain breakfast cereals, and sugary drinks can be replaced by sugar-free or diet alternatives. And in market, sugar cubes are present, which could be used in your tea, daily coffee, and daily routines. Fifth one is cut down on salts. Here you have to go instead of taking the salt, you could go for the herbs and spices can be used as an alternative instead of using the salt in your diet or when you are eating. Sixth one is to limit alcohol. Limit alcohol to 2 units per day for a woman and 3 units per day for men. And for this, you can avoid drinking alcohol on an empty stomach as it may contribute to the hypoglycemia condition. Seventh is lose weight. It is done for those who are overweighted. Lose weight if overweight by trying to reduce at a rate of 0.5 to 1 kg per week. And also, you have to, along with this, you have to avoid crash diets and junk food in your diet. Diabetic food products are not necessary and do not contribute to a healthy diet. So, if you importantly consider these 7 points in your diet and strictly follow to these routines, then you may control your diabetes and you do not have some in at home also. Next is your common diabetes treatment. So common diabetes treatment includes generally 4 points that you may go for the insulin treatment, you go for the oral medication, you keep maintaining, you keep check your home glucose meter and go for the diet exercise. So taking first as the insulin, so all people with type 1 diabetes need to take insulin every day via an injection or pump or inhaler, and only some with the type 2 or gestational diabetes requires this medicine. If you talk about some oral medicine, so those who are with type 2 diabetes may take a daily cocktail of pills and liquid and keep blood sugar in a healthy range. Means you cannot get rid of the diabetes by taking medicine alone. You The medicines can control your diabetes up to a certain limit, means your blood sugar will remain to the normal condition, but you cannot get rid of the diabetes alone by depending upon the medicines only. Okay, third one is your home glucose meter. This treatment starts with you at home, where you all test your glucose every day based on your levels, and you all know how and what and when to eat when you are suffering from diabetes. Fourth one is the most important and most convenient method, that diet and exercise. So, although type 1 diabetes can't be managed with the lifestyle changes, eating a healthy diet and regularly breaking a sweat can provide big benefit for those who are suffering from the type 2 diabetes. Although at this at this point also the same, that you do not get the rid of from the diabetes, but you may get controlled range of blood sugar in your body. Next is your diet and insulin. Okay, the hypoglycemia reaction of injected insulin should be balanced against the glycemic effect of consuming the carbohydrate. Ideally, if we talk about the insulin prescribed, should be selected on the basis of the compatibility of its timing and mode of the action with each patient's lifestyle and meal habits, rather than the other ways round. So whenever you choose the insulin doses, the patient's body, the patient lifestyle should be kept in mind. What is the lifestyle and what he or she is eating, or what they are going for the normal workout, what they do for the workout. So this should be kept in mind. The availability of short, intermediate, long acting insulin and the ability to administer these via pen like injection devices increases the flexibility of insulin regimes to meet most meal pattern. Individuals with very erratic lifestyles and eating habits will benefit from more regular intake of food, although this does not need to follow a rigid clock watching meal pattern if you are going through these short-term devices. Rapid acting analogs insulin starts to work within 5 to 15 minutes as per you take the injection, and therefore eating some carbohydrate within this time period is very much necessary. All patients taking the insulin, but particularly those taking the analog insulin, must be aware of the possibility of hypoglycemia. As insulin is an anabolic, increasing the dose to control the glycemic effects of excessive food intake may lead to the weight gain and potentially to a cycle of worsening the blood sugar control. So it is important, therefore, that dietary advice to people taking the insulin does not simply focus on the short term glycemic effect of the food and the need to balance the effect of insulin, but also incorporates the other aspects of the diet. Next is your diet and oral hypoglycemic drugs and hypoglycemia. So, if fasting blood sugar concentration cannot be maintained below 7 millimole per liter by diet alone in type 2 diabetes, and oral hypoglycemic drugs may be prescribed. Taking this medication does not change the goals of the principle of the optimum diet described, but the patient should be aware of the potential for weight gain, and if prescribed, you can go for the sulfonylurea or thiazolidines, and of the small possibility of the hypoglycemia. So the acute hypoglycemia should be treated with 10 to 20 gram of glucose orally in conscious patient, and if this is not available, then regular sugar such as sucrose or a sugary drink can be given to the patient. Although this will not be effective in the patient taking the alpha glucosidase inhibitor, on recovery, a further 10 to 20 gram of slower acting carbohydrate should be given unless the next meal or snack is due, in which case this should be eaten as usual. So frequent episodes of hypoglycemia may be resolved by eating smaller quantities of the food more frequently, but if ongoing, the treatment regime should be reviewed. In this hypoglycemic condition, there are certain snacks will be available after initial recovery of hypos, such as you go for the sandwich, ideally that is made up of from whole grain breads. You go for the bowl of whole grain and oat based cereals. You go for the banana and glass of semi skimmed milk and oat cakes. These could be given in hypoglycemic condition. Now, next is weight management and monitoring the glycemic control. So, generally, we know more than 80% of the people diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they are overweighted. So, weight management in both type 1 and type 2 diabetes is very important to help to reduce the insulin resistance, to control the blood glucose level, and also to lower the risk of long-term complications. Preventive weight gain Preventing weight gain or reducing the excess body weight can be very challenging. It is central to optimizing the diabetes care and is a cornerstone in the dietary management of the diabetes. So, a faceted approaches utilizing the dietary and physical activity advices, drug therapy, and behavioral support is very much important, and it is generally considered at the topmost point. This point I have already discussed in how to maintain your weight management in a previous lecture in the obesity. So do refer to that lecture also. Monitoring of glycemic control. Glycosylated hemoglobin HbA1c should be measured at least annually. The value should be greater than 7% are considered a desirable target for most patients with type 1 and type 2 diabetes and are associated with the reduced risk of complications. So here is the glycemic control means the you have to maintain the glycemic index. The glycemic index generally aims to quantify the blood sugar response after eating the specific foods. This has the potential significance in diabetes where the fluctuations or rapid increase in blood sugars are undesirable. The issue is complex and glycemic index values vary considerably depending on the exact nature of the food. For example, the depends upon the method of processing or cooking or degree of ripeness or strain of the plant. So at present, it is recommended that using a glycemic index value to provide a broad guide to a food's glycemic effect may be helpful adjunct to other dietary issues, but that it should not be relied upon as the most important feature of the food relative advices. So in if your as I told, value is greater than 7% are considered as a desirable target for most of the patient. So if your glycemic index is somewhat higher, then you can go for a meal consist of white and whole meal bread, wheat, corn based breakfast cereals, old potatoes, mashed potatoes, fruit juice, and honey. If your glycemic index somewhat lie between in is of moderate value, then you can go for the rice, pita, rye bread, new potatoes, and muesli. If your glycemic index is lower, then you have to go for the oat products, pulses, peas, beans, legumes, pasta, fruit, milk, and plain yogurt. So next is your gestational diabetes and diabetes. So gestational diabetes, as I told in the first slide of this lecture, that gestational diabetes is related to the pregnant ladies. Gestational diabetes is a common but usually asymptomatic form of intolerance of carbohydrate leading to hyperglycemia with onset of first recognition in pregnancy. So, a standard oral glucose tolerance test resulting in 2 hours glucose concentration shows the greater than 11 point millimole is either capillary blood or venous plasma confirms the diagnosis. In most cases, it resolves spontaneously after delivery, but it is associated with adverse pregnancy outcome, including the large for gestational age babies or congenital abnormalities and the long-term risk of type 2 diabetes in mothers. So most cases are treated with the nutritional management alone, although some women also requires the insulin. In the absence of firm evidence, it is reasonable to recommend a diet providing the adequate nutrition for the mother and fetus. That includes this should meet all nutrients requirement of the pregnancy through the provision of regular meals and that include a large component of slowly absorbed carbohydrate and also provide the energy intake that limits unnecessary maternal weight gain. The minimum recommended pregnancy weight gain in women with gestational diabetes. Blood sugar level should be monitored regularly and insulin dose and frequency adjusted to maintain capillary values between 4.4 and 6.1 millimole per liter before meal and less than and greater than 8.6 millimole per liter after meal. So gestational diabetes is the another category besides type 1 and type 2 diabetes. This is also considered the another type of diabetes. Next is your metabolic syndrome. Okay, here I forgot that after the just along with the gestational diabetes, diabetes also occurs in children and adolescents and young people with diabetes should are the cases many are seen in the healthcare and clinic and hospitals. So the team should include a dietitian to treat them with expertise in childhood diabetes and among that the dietary management issue that must be considered on an individual basis that they need to provide the nutritional requirement associated with the growth as well as the optimum diet for the diabetes and the psychosocial aspects of the dietary interventions in young person. Okay, the next is your metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is also known as syndrome X and the insulin resistance syndrome. It comprises of interrelated factors including your obesity, insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, hypertension, and all of which predispose to cardiovascular diseases. This I will teaching you in the next in our upcoming lecture, cardiovascular diseases. The consequences of diagnostic criteria for metabolic syndrome are first is the central obesity that is defined as a waist circumference above the gender and the ethnicity specific cutoff values and also the consequences is that your serum triglyceride level increases. There is a requirement for treatment for hypertriglyceridemia. There is a requirement for treatment of BP that is also increases and fasting plasma glucose increases that is greater than 5.6 millimole per liter. So the individual's component of metabolic syndrome can be treated by a healthy diet based on a balance of good health and incorporating specific advice relevant to the factors present. So the fundamental clinical message is that to avoid this syndrome is people should avoid the excess weight gain and stay physically active, and also take the good nutritive diet in their life. Thank you for being with us. For more information, please log on to our website www.itlisacademy.com and register yourself. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn, and just do not forget to subscribe our channel ITLS Academy at YouTube. Thank you.